Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, this channel focuses on the ins and outs of living abroad in the beautiful country of Poland. Now for today's video, we're going to talk about little victories. Now, as I mentioned before, when you live abroad, you're faced with several challenges, and these challenges are compacted in a different way because you are not in your home country, and sometimes you're separated from your family, and at other times, especially if you are traveling for a short time, you might be separated from your friends and your kind of network. However, I've lived in Poland for about 4.5 years, and I've established a network, and if I established a really good group of friends here in Europe, and I have some really good friends here in Poland. However, even with that in mind, there are some times where I feel that my experience is not as great as it could be, and specifically with the current atmosphere in Poland and the current atmosphere globally, it is sometimes hard to really be positive and really have a positive outlook during your experience abroad. So for this video, I just want to tell you about this little tiny thing or these little tiny micro actions that you can take to heighten your experience no matter what the circumstances. When you move abroad, a lot of people have this expectation that all these changes are just going to happen and you're going to come into the experience as a new person, and you're going to leave the experience as like a new and enlightened person. And that's not always true. And that's why I say that it's super important to kind of give yourself credit and kind of take notice of those little tiny behaviors and little tiny choices that you make that ultimately help you grow as a person. Now, I have to put this in some context, and I have to mention a book that I've read called The Compound Effect, and it's been an amazing book. And in this book, it talks about making little changes and how those changes kind of compound on themselves and grow exponentially. And with that, after reading the book, and even before, I saw that I was actually practicing some of the elements or some of the components in the book, is that I really do look at those little victories. Now, in my life, obviously, there are little victories that I kind of take joy in, but specifically in my lifespan here while traveling abroad, there have been several things that I have done. And now when I look back, I'm able to kind of see those wins, those little wins that make this experience worthwhile no matter what. Now, number one of the biggest things is that I work with children. And so therefore, at the beginning of the year, there are a lot of children that are extremely shy when they come to English lessons. And a lot of times, a lot of these children haven't had an opportunity to be with a native speaker. So therefore, just seeing me for the first time can be a shock to the system. Or a lot of children don't have the opportunity to have lessons with a man teacher or a male teacher. And so therefore, that kind of puts the children off a bit. But one of the major victories that I've noticed in recent time is that a lot of the children that were extremely shy when they first came to lessons, they have opened up and they have blossomed. And not only have they opened up, they're actually speaking English. And they're speaking English to me in all ways possible, even when we're not in the lesson. I have children now that were extremely shy, or the children that had some behavioral issues that now come up to me, specifically in the kindergartens, and they want to just talk to me. And a lot of times they're using broken sentences, but they're trying their best to convey information to me and trying to share their life with me. Another huge victory for me, and this is super important for me, my partner, and our overall relationship, is that a few months ago I started having English lessons with my partner's mom. And I initially did this just to kind of start to build a relationship with his mother and to kind of build a rapport. And our lessons have been not as consistent as I would want them to be. However, I met with her a day or so ago, and I was super proud of her progress with English, even though she had went on vacation and she hadn't had a lesson in about a few weeks. But more prudently, I felt extremely comfortable in her company. And I can tell that she felt extremely comfortable in like my company and our company together. And that was like a huge victory that I had to really think about and I had to really cherish. And I really had to look at it and say, whoa, no matter what is happening during my experience here in Poland, being able and having the ability to bond with my future mother-in-law is a huge win. Now, another big victory is just work in general. Now, I've been working at my company or at the company that I work for since I've been here. So also for 4.5 years. And it amazes me how I'm able to pick up materials. I'm able to take those materials and I kind of play with what I'm going to do during the lesson in my mind. I'm able to just take that and just implement it and just smash it. And that to me is a total victory. You know, it has come to the point when I'm working that I feel like a lot of times I am on autopilot or there's like muscle memory and I just like my body knows what to do. When a situation happens in the class, I'm able to adjust quickly. And I remember when I first started, it was extremely hard to make adjustments. And it took me an extremely long time to like go over lesson plans and go over grammar points. And now I feel super comfortable and confident in the classroom, and that is definitely another win. Lastly, and certainly not least, is the victory in me going to university. Now, I never thought I would have the opportunity to go back to university. To be honest, I never thought I would have the courage to go back to university. And now that I'm in the university program and I'm learning so many new things, not just about, the content of the course, but about myself, about my classmates, and about like the world in general. And, every weekend I go there, it is a struggle. I have to get on the train for an hour and then, I get to the university, I run to campus and then I stay there all day and I'm extremely tired and then I have to get the train back and that's another hour commute. And, I'm home really late and I don't have a weekend. I haven't had a clear weekend for some time now, but it is by far a huge benefit. And not just with the fact that I will have a degree in language or I will have a degree to be able to better serve potential clients and my students now, but it just gives me this feeling of growth. And one major big thing with my degree, it's not specifically the degree that I feel is benefiting me, but it's the ability to be able to think a bit clearer, a bit faster on my feet, and to know how to access information and access reliable and true information. In addition to that, it's the ability to understand that things rapidly change, that nothing is set in stone. And even if one concept is researched, that as time progresses, so does the research. And a theory or a concept or an idea that was a truth could eventually shift or things could be added to it. And that to me is a victory in that I kind of understand how the world is constantly changing, and that just doesn't happen in my personal life, but that also happens with the information that we take or the way we see the world. Nothing is set in stone, and having the ability to understand that is the ultimate victory. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned the compound effect, and I definitely have to thank my brother-in-law, Ronald. Thank you for, throwing that book at me. My brother-in-law and I, last summer, we were reading a lot of books tangent together. Well, actually, we're listening to a lot of books on Audible. Now, Audible obviously is not sponsoring this video. I'm new to the YouTube scene, but it's definitely a way that I access books, especially when I'm driving, going to work. That is about 30 minutes to 45 minutes that like otherwise would be wasted. And during this time, I listen to several books. Compound effect is just one of the many books that I've listened to this year, and it definitely has had a compound effect on my life. Now, if you like this content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and I can't wait to see you next week.